All right, we're live. Well, everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Conservatarian Podcast. Today, we are joined by a guest. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Connor. I'm from the UK. So I've got a lot of different views and different lot of what do you call it, politics, compared to where you're from. So yeah, I'm gonna be learning a lot of US politics today and see how it goes. See how it goes.
And
Right.
Micah, do you want to kind of explain how this all came about?
So, about a day after we did the first episode, I decided I kind of felt like I needed to. It'd be nice if we could reach out a little bit more because I felt like we were kind of. We made progress, but I kind of had the fear we would stagnate again. So I decided we to reach out. I went onto Reddit and posted on a couple subreddits. Our podcasts and our podcast significantly good response. I got a decent amount of responses, some PMs, some uh, and I overall I found about three people that I think I could potentially with one of whom I the the guy from the UK
Man,
and yeah, and actually I think we made a good decision because you know, sort of reaching out and stuff, and overall I'm very I'm anticipating doing this episode, and I'm gonna forward to this. So let's do it.
All right, we're going to get started with, um, well, I mean, obviously an introduction. Even the difference between the Canadian Conservative Party and the British Canadian or Conservative Party. Like even there's a massive difference just because of the cultural difference. Um, and obviously, it's a much bigger difference between, say, American conservatives and even on a more broader scope, European conservatives. But we're gonna try to. I mean, that's why we're kind of using more broad terms this episode instead of focusing on, say, 2020 campaign runners. I mean, that would kind of be a one-sided conversation. So yeah, we're going to kind of use more broad terms today. And issue one is going to be sort of the government. And this is kind of a question directed at you, Connor, not like in a bad way. I mean, this is just a question that we would ask, and then is going to be kind of what's your whole idea? What do you think the government's role is? You know, you think it should be big, and it should be kind of interventionist, or like not in necessarily a bad way, but I mean like kind of in a healthcare and social safety nets and you know how involved should government be in in people's lives, and kind of what's the role of government?
um, well, in good question actually. In the UK, don't know. It's an hard one. There's a bit of each side there on whether it should be big or small. See, the big brings a lot of stabilisation to the country, I believe. I can't think of the word for it. Completely lost it out of my head. um,
It's all right. You can take your time.
I'm gone. I'm gone with that one. Gone with it.
Are you like referring to like a term for the government? Like what's the word you're at loss with? Like
Uh, 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 like a background it's oh, I can't think. I honestly cannot think of the word for it. It's completely gone out of my head.
You define it.
I'm looking for it right now. Funny enough.
well, we're off to a great
Uh,
start, guys. Great start.
yeah, the little British man ain't helping it. Continue on while I look up for this word and we go back to this.
All right. So I mean, obviously, the conservative view, even in Canada, and I would imagine a little bit in the UK would be kind of a small government that intervenes in people's lives the least amount as possible. Because I mean, like in our view, the government has done the worst thing. It wasn't the people. Like I don't know. Take when we first colonized North America, right? It was the the government that was the ones making all the decisions. They were the ones that were like enforcing, say, the Jim Crow laws, which are the sort of segregationist, like flat out racist laws, and government has been the source of tyranny in the not just in the West, but in the whole world, like for most of history, and then obviously the other side of that is kind of the more left-leaning liberal slash progressive view, which is like government should be sort of intervening in the economy by taxing the most wealthy, significant, like really high, like even some there's a congresswoman here named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's fine with a 70% tax rate on like the people earning, I think it's 10 million plus. And
The way that works is what she proposed was a marginal tax rate of 70% on income above $10 million.
yeah.
All the money you make that's above $10 million. Ten. Okay. He says our voices keep breaking up.
That's not good.
Oh dear.
Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe I'm holding the mic a little close to my face, but yeah, I mean the liberal side of the government is basically the government should help the lower and middle class people, and then kind of take from the rich people to help those people. And they also believe that social safety nets are kind of a human right, and they should be treated as such and be granted by the government, like say healthcare or welfare or something like that. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much in very broad terms what the kind of two-sided issue is. Yeah, and obviously the name conservatarian is a kind of a bridge between conservative and libertarian. Libertarian obviously being the most anti-government, not in a kind of anarchist way, but just kind of a out of people's lives kind of way.
Well, what do you think of the sort of equivocation that often happens between libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism?
Are you asking me? Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the kind of libertarian view is that there is probably the most important role of government is protecting our rights, life, liberty, property, or life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And then also, well, yeah, that's pretty much it, because that entails keeping us safe and, not so much taking care of the people in like a I don't know, a kind of quote unquote democratic socialist way. Like they just view it as the government, like it goes like very deep. The government should be out of regulating who can get a driver's license, who can, you know, do most things that you need government approval for, like you know, hunting, fishing, getting like even getting a license to cut hair, like become a barber or whatever. That should be abolished. You know, lots of things should be legalized. Drugs. Um,
Prostitution,
yeah, I mean,
child labor.
yeah, exactly. Things like that. So
Yeah, so a little bit further than I'd ever really be willing to go, but
yeah,
actually, like, I looked through the Libertarian Party a while back, and it's like probably agree with libertarians on like 50% of the issues,
yeah,
but like when I do agree with them, I agree very much.
yeah,
Agree with them, I very much disagree with them.
yeah,
So it's a very hit or miss for me.
yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the at least the American view of what like the different sides of what government should be. Um, I don't know how much you, Connor, agree with that, but or with either of those, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah, we've got quite the same sort of system. Um, our conservators obviously take money from the poorer, make the rich richer. As I was saying yesterday to one of you, I think it was
I think it was me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I was explaining that, and then we've got the Labour, which is all for the country, for the young, to mm, it's really hard because, like I said, I'm not an affiliate to any sort of party, so I don't tend to take sides, and I don't I don't tend to
yeah,
back up any sort of party, so it is an hard one talking about this sort of stuff. Obviously, I have
yeah,
good views and all, but trying to decide on what is better is not down my street, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Definitely, it's kind of a climate definitely across the world that there's kind of a two sides, and if you don't sort of fit in either one of them, you're kind of stuck in the middle, and there's no really party to represent you. But I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so you know, I mean, in terms of like government, what do you think the role of the government is to like in people's lives? Like, what do they owe the people? Like, what do they need to give people, or what do they need to provide for people in terms of say rights or uh, you know, benefits or something like that?
Um, Definitely the healthcare as of like what we've got in the UK.
Yeah.
100%. I believe every human in this world should deserve some sort of free healthcare.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? It's life at the end of the day, isn't it? You need to keep a person living. Um, some sort of benefits. Um, this all sounds very what's the word, like one-sided, because obviously we get all this in this country. So I can only explain from what we currently get and what we don't get.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, especially when things, and obviously, like you said, safety is one of the main things.
Mhm.
Providing a very good justice system as well.
Yeah.
Which to be fair, I don't think we really do have a good justice system in the UK. I think it's very corrupt. I think it is very corrupt.
In what sense
Other
do you
than,
mean?
well, with you over there, you've got the death sentence, you've got the life, which means life, right? You've got all them sort of things, and we have none of that. we did have the death sentence many years ago, many years ago,
Yeah.
uh, which helped. So it was like you eye for an eye sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? You take
Yeah.
someone's life, yours is going as well. Um, but our life sentence here is 25 years.
Yeah.
Straight away with any sentence in the UK, it gets cut in half. So say if you get 10-year sentence, straight away it goes down to 5,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous anyway. I don't believe in that. What you get is what you should get. It's always an half, which I've never understood.
So are you would you consider yourself pro death penalty and capital punishment, or what do you?
Yes, no, I definitely believe we should have it because I understand obviously America have a lot of shootings and stuff. Don't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, but we're sort of the same, but not with guns obviously, where it is illegal here.
Yeah. You got a lot of
We
knife
have,
crime there.
we're very heavily on gun laws, aren't we? So we don't
Yeah.
have that sort of stuff. But we have a lot of stabbings.
Yeah.
Loads, especially in the capital.
Yeah. London. London.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember how many consecutive months it passed New York in terms of murder. Yeah. It's not a great situation there, but
Punishment, I kind of wish could come back.
what do you mean by that?
Would be exile. Like if it weren't for the fact that pretty much all the territory on the planet is conquered already, or is occupied by a country already, I would be like, okay, if bad enough, we just eject them from this country and we just put them into occupied territory, like an old school exiling thing, because it's like
Well, I mean that's pretty much what Australia was
yeah.
for the UK
Yeah.
up until
We send all our prisoners over there to
Yeah.
Australia.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
I actually went.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I actually went to one of their prisons over there actually.
Yeah.
Fremantle prison, and yeah, we learnt a lot about obviously a lot of the UK. Going over there, so they're out of the way, completely away from society over there. It's good, but it's madness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that here in the US, I think you would definitely be right in the middle because the Democratic Party and like kind of going left would agree with you on like healthcare and safety and all that, and then they would disagree with you heavily on like criminal justice. Like they want it reformed bad, and like they are very against the death penalty. They think it should be like sort of therapy over jail time.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think that there shouldn't. I don't think
No.
that there shouldn't be jail time. I think that but I do think there should be therapy at the same time, like a more of a therapeutic. I don't think there should be an abolishment of jail time.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of talk with the therapy sort of side of imprisonment here as well, because we have a lot of suicidal deaths in the UK prisons here, and it's happened a lot more over the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
But they also say like we've recently had this new law come. Well, it hasn't come in yet. It's going through government at the moment about 6 months minimum jail time is the minimum you can do. So you can't go in for a month or 2 months because they're saying someone's going in for 6 months and they're coming out even worse than what they were because it's in a short amount of time they're turning themselves into such a bad person
Yeah.
for a crime that do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're currently in talks with doing that and making the minimum jail sentence of 6 months in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. And obviously, some criminals can't be rehabilitated. I mean, rehabilitated is a better word than therapy, but that's kind of like it's very. I think it's. I think it's the maybe 49 states that have abolished the death penalty, but and I think it's just Florida, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
30 states. That's how many states you got at the moment with the death penalty.
Yeah,
Believe
never mind then. Oh man, obviously I didn't research that well enough. Yeah, which is it's definitely, and here in Canada it's definitely like much like more it's much more on the rehabilitation side. Obviously we don't have the death penalty unless it's like a very high crime, like I think assassinating maybe the prime minister or someone like that is grounds for the death penalty, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think this has been a good talk on this first issue, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah. I think
It's good to know how the other country, how another country sort of think they should run their country and how they should do it.
yeah.
Like you said, I'm very in the middle.
Yeah.
In the UK and in the US, if I was over there, I'd be very much in the middle. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that was a good first issue. I don't know exactly how much time we just spent on that. But I think it is probably time to move on to our next issue, which is oh my goodness, we spent a lot of time on that. 22 minutes. We gotta start moving along faster. Yeah, but our next subject is immigration. Obviously, it's a big topic in the U.S. because Trump wants to build the border wall to keep out illegal immigration, and then there's obviously talk of he tried the Muslim ban. Well, not really a Muslim ban, but he tried the ban from certain majority Muslim countries. And then, he's come off as kind of an anti-immigrant guy, but obviously, I think he just advocates for anti-illegal immigration, be it from wherever. But I mean, just as a broader kind of term, where do you line up on, like, the idea of are there certain countries that immigration, like, kind of shouldn't come from, or like not obviously not like certain races of people, but like obviously I don't know how you feel about like the mass immigration coming from the like places like Somalia and Iraq and Saudi Arabia that have come into the UK, but have you heard of Tommy Robinson?
yeah, of course I have.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that was a question, but I mean, yeah, obviously you probably know his side of what he thinks about immigration. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
About Tommy Robinson, he's got a lot of good points in the matter. A lot of good points. Also, some ones I don't agree with, but yeah, he knows what he's talking about. But I think he goes the wrong way of doing it. Says it the wrong way, and it makes him sound as a racist.
So, do you think
It's-
that Tommy is an actual racist, or do you think that he's just is coming off the wrong way?
Nah, I don't think he is a racist.
Yeah.
this country's changed a lot from the United Kingdom and how unified we were and how tight our borders were.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was, well, even with like the Windrush in the 70s with the Jamaicans coming over, I think that was like one of the first big sort of immigration overhaul in our country.
Yeah.
Um, but they come over for all the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? They come over help build our buildings, do you know what I mean? Anything really.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah. I get
they
it.
were
Yeah.
there for, sort of thing. And I think that started the immigration off in this country to a mass. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you had people immigrating from countries, but for a mass, I think that was the thing that started it off.
Yeah. It was the migrant caravan from South America, like right near. Well, not that south, but like Colombia, Honduras. From there. Yeah.
But no, I don't think he's a racist. He goes the wrong way about it, of course, but I think he speaks for the people.
Yeah.
I do. And not a lot of people in this country now. It's very hard to have a voice in this country, which is understandable because of how sensitive the country is and the world is now as a whole. It's very sensitive about topics you can talk about now.
Yeah. And so
And a lot
that kind of ties into the whole issue of sort of free speech and obviously there's a vast, even though there are hate speech laws in Canada, there's a vast difference between the hate speech laws in Canada and in the UK. Obviously, the UK being a lot more strict, and then being enforced a lot more. So, kind of a big question for you. Do you think there should be restrictions on what people can say, or do you think people should be free to say whatever they want?
Nah, I don't think there should be any sort of restriction, but I believe you should have the utmost respect in the other person's mind and point of view
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
in what you're saying. Yeah, I believe that anyone should be able to say what they want to say. Of course, like I said, you have got to think about the other person, because, like I said, the race card can be pulled at any sort of moment, which it
Mhm.
can. But I don't know. It's an hard one. It's hard to talk too much about it because it is such a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
In the UK, massively anyway. At the moment, it's
Yeah.
very sensitive.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, obviously in the U.S. we have the First Amendment that protects us from the government sort of impeding on our right to freedom of speech, which obviously had we not had that, we probably would have had we probably would have had certain hate speech laws put upon us already. But I mean, obviously we had very different histories. Well, I say we. The UK and the US had very different histories. Obviously, the US kind of wanting to be independent of the what they thought was the British tyranny that was kind of keeping them down. But and so because of that, they kind of wanted to be a country without a government that could impede on the rights of the individual. So, I mean, when they made the Constitution, obviously, it wasn't extended to everyone, right? You'd be a fool to say that it was extended to everyone. Obviously, certain minorities didn't have the same rights that they do now. But, you know, societies change over time, and luckily it's gone in the right way. So,
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
it. Our law on free speech is under our Human Rights Act, actually, and it's everyone has the right to freedom of expression, um, but obviously it comes down to the subject of formalities, conditions,
yeah.
and obviously the penalties prescribed by law and what are necessary in a democratic society. So
Yeah.
I think it changes with the time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any sort of written, what's the word? can't get it out.
Constitutional.
Constitution. Yeah, yeah.
Constitutional
There's no
amendments.
written
Excuse me.
just to say what you can say, what you can't say.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it changes with the times, and like now in a very sensitive society, it seems like it's a lot firmer. That you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. You can't go a long way with it now.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it.
No. I get it. It's obviously very different cultures. So
Yeah.
but I mean, I get the point. Yeah.
Because like in the when we had a Public Order Act in 1986, when obviously this was first made, the law on the hate speech was an offence for a person to use it in a threatening, abusive
Yeah.
way towards someone, or that causes harassment or distress or whatever.
Yeah.
But obviously, as it's gone through the years now, other things have come into it, as of racial and religious hatred. You've got the sexual orientation of it all, and then you've got now, as recently, you've got the thing that encourages terrorism.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of law is always changing
Yeah.
on hate speech and freedom of speech. It's always going to change. It's going to be a non-stop law that.
And do you think that the UK laws have gone too far, or are you all right with them right now?
What's that? Sorry.
Do you think that the UK laws have gone too far, or do you think that they're bordering like on that, but they're not quite there yet?
I don't know. I think they're well in their limits.
All right. Well, I guess just to tie this whole immigration, I obviously we got very sidetracked there into the subject of freedom of speech, which is totally fine. But kind of the main thing with kind of Tommy Robinson and his opposing to certain immigration from certain places is the issue of kind of Islam and radical Islam, and so. It's kind of a broad question, but like, what do you kind of like? Do you think Tommy Robinson is correct in some areas, or do you think he's coming from the right place, but he is like not expressing it how it should be?
Yeah, exactly that. He knows what he's talking about. Of course he does, and he does talk a lot of sense, but the way you're doing it, you can't do it like that. You just can't. I don't mind. I don't mind him. I read up a bit about him every now and then. I see all these confrontations he gets into.
Yeah.
I've seen videos where he's just driving through the street, and then you know what I mean, another Muslim comes and attacks him.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't understand the thing people don't understand as well. See, where these people that come from these other backgrounds, you don't know what they've been through. So hearing something the way Tommy says it,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, be sensitive. Do you know what I mean? And can get to you in some way that makes you want to react in a way that might seem not nice in the way to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Everyone deserves it. Everyone deserves the right to speak up about what they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's putting it into the right context and putting it out there the right way.
Yeah. And obviously, I assume you've heard about when he went through his recent prison sentence, and where he was kind of like in what's it called? I don't know what that's called. The cell that Tommy was in when he was in jail. The really small room. What's it called?
What does it begin with? S. Okay.
Solitary
Um,
confinement. You're right. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, yes, it was a yeah. Solitary
Yeah.
confinement. Yeah.
And obviously his kind of complaint and with his court case was that he was in there for longer than he should have been, and that
Yeah.
his sentence was way overshot given what had happened. Like obviously his side was that he was just filming outside of a court after one of the cases of one of the Muslim grooming gangs, and then the police came and arrested him there, and then he was in there for whatever it was, 3 months or so, and he thinks that he says that no one else in the UK's history has gotten the same sentence time for the same crime that he committed, and that was kind of a violation of his rights. And that his like basically his whole he said that his whole prison sentence was unjust, and obviously I can't verify that. I don't know exactly what went on, but yeah. I mean, it's just not a great situation for him, but it is what it
No,
is.
it's not exactly the greatest situation, but like I said, yeah, he keeps digging himself in that hole, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah. Well, I think that was a good discussion around immigration. Micah, I realize that you haven't talked very much. Do you want to jump in here and add anything before we move on?
Sure. Um, Actually, no. I kind of lost track of what you guys were saying.
Okay. Um, I guess the next kind of topic is around sort of gender. That's a very big term. I'll divide it into smaller things. Like first of all, sort of I know this word is kind of the meaning is kind of thrown around a lot, but feminism and basically how it relates to us in the modern world in the 21st century. Um, you know, what are men and women given equal opportunities in the West, or is there still ongoing, discrimination against, either men or women? So, if you just want to kind of give your opinion on that, that'd be great.
Um, I believe, I believe there was a lot. Well, in the past, obviously it was very man-driven. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
all down to the man. It was this. But I feel go back 10 years. I believe the equality was there. I believe because no one talked about all this gender stuff and
Mm-hmm.
women empowerment. It probably was there, but it was at a very, very small minority.
Mm-hmm.
Not as what it is now. And I believe now it's pushing it up to a scale again where the equality is going because it's such a big deal now. The equality is gone because every sort of topic or everything that's said on TV or everything that's written on social media, a lot of you get a lot of gender equality comments come up about it. There's this one I see earlier. Do you know who Piers Morgan is?
Of course, yeah.
I do.
Yeah, he literally had put a tweet out today, probably about a couple of hours ago. Actually, I was reading it. I'll try and look for it quickly.
Yeah, I'll do that
And
too.
yeah,
Look for
it
it.
was actually to do with the gender equality. Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I'll have a little look up for it quick.
No problem.
Here we go. I found it. It was actually, yeah, it was yesterday morning. He actually posted. Well, to you, it was this morning. But what it was, he tweeted out saying well, no, he actually commented on a tweet. So this tweet come out from this account saying The clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings and still isn't as sensitive as a white man on the internet. Okay.
Yeah.
And his reply was, the penis has 8,000 nerve endings too, but if I said it still isn't as sensitive as a black woman on the internet, I'd be banned from Twitter and fired for racist toxic masculinity. And he says, why is racist toxic feminism, like this tweet below, any more acceptable?
That's a hilarious tweet. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Of course, not a lot of people like him, but a lot of people agree with him on that one.
Yeah. Would you say you're one of those people?
Yes,
All right.
I would agree with him. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that might be that might have to be quote of the year right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow.
I know.
Oh man. So so you said the equality was like sort of appearing again. What did you mean by that? Like there's a disparity between men and women, like men are on the lower end of that, like on the end of the stick, or
They
yeah?
they are, and it will only get worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe that because of all this women empowerment and stuff.
Yeah.
It's sort of not pushed them up the pecking order. Do you know what I mean that would sound really petty in a certain way because that's not
Mhm.
what it's all about, is it? It is about generally getting equality in everyone.
Mhm.
But it's now as if like they've got more rights than the male. It's really hard to explain. Actually, really hard to explain.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously a big sort of subject that's come up recently. Obviously we had I don't know if you saw the kid wearing the MAGA hat and the Native American guy that was at this event called the March for Life, and it's basically a march against abortion, and so that kind of ties into a broad issue right now, which is abortion. Kind of should it be something that is well, what is it? It evolved from like safe, legal, and rare to on demand, taxpayer funded, and without apology, and then now it's kind of on the radical sort of left. It's become like shout your abortion, be proud of it, and all that. Where do you kind of stand on that?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I don't know. Nico, what do you think on that one? Just laying over to you.
Oh, did you just call me Mika?
I believe so. Is that what you...
It's Micah.
Nico,
Hey, Connor. It's
Yeah.
Micah. Sorry, that's just kind of what it sounded like.
Micah.
But yeah, Micah, he's yeah. What's your opinion on the subject?
What, the abortion?
Yeah.
Oh, talk to you about it, but I think the only area where it's not debatable that it should be allowed are like life of the mother, fatal fetal defect, other circumstances. Otherwise, I think it's a debatable issue.
Would
Cool. I
And honestly,
Hold up, Micah. What was that?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, 100% believe in that as well. Is like, I think there's certain situations, and they should have complete choice in whether they want to go ahead with it or whether they don't want to, due to like I said, situations that can get them in that position in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Micah, you can finish your sentence.
I already forgot what it was.
Dang it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I kind of agree with the, well, I entirely agree with Micah. That's pretty much where I stand. I guess we're pretty much all in agreement, I would say. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say there, but yeah. I just wanna like just to quickly tie off this. Actually, let's hold up. How long have we been going? 45 minutes. Wow. What's subject are we on? 3.
15 minutes, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So, oh man, that's tough. We can spend like 10 minutes on the last one, but what do you think about like sort of like the whole idea of transgenderism? Like, do you think that you know gender exists on a spectrum, or people can, uh, or gender is separate from biological like sex, or do you think that like what do you think about like is it totally fine for someone to be able to become like from a man to become a woman, or do you think that's kind of biologically incorrect, or kind of what do you think about that? Because obviously we've had in the U.S. we just I think Micah, did we just reintroduce the bill that would ban transgender soldiers from, well, transgender people from serving in the military, or was that? Well,
The Supreme Court allowed it, sort of.
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard about that, about Trump stopping all that actually. When he, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, obviously it's a pretty big subject in the news right now. Where do you kind of fall into line?
I think, but yeah, biologically it is. I don't know. Of course, everyone has their right to be who they want to be. Um, as if same with like like change your name Depot, right?
Yeah,
You want to change your name, you change your name. You want to change your face the way you look, you change your face look. You can have plastic surgery on your boobs, you can have plastic surgery on your bum.
yeah,
Yeah, you were born with them things, and you can change them.
yeah,
So, of course, the obviously the biological the life side comes into it, and reproduction and all this sort of stuff comes into play as well. But yeah, I'm a big believer in the, you know what I mean, be who you want to be,
yeah,
completely. Like I said, it is 2019.
yeah.
I don't know. What's your view on it then?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's obviously like just going on basic biological, like just basic biology would suggest that if you have XY chromosomes, you're male, and XX chromosomes, you're female. Or is that right?
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course, yeah, I understand where you come.
Yeah. Yeah, and then and uh and obviously like the American Psychological Association classifies it classified it as a disorder up until I think it was like 2016. And I think obviously, yeah, I think obviously uh there is probably a kind of biological aspect to it. I'm in that it is like I mean
There's biological, and then you've also got the psychological side of
yeah,
it as well.
yeah, that's what I meant. It's it like if it were treated as any other, or if it had been treated as any other um disorder up until now, it would have never been like it would be treated as something like say anorexia, or I can't remember what that disorder is where you feel like you would live better without, say, your left arm or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but it would be treated similar to those two. But obviously it hasn't been, and we kind of had this societal shift where it's like basically, uh, well, not everyone accepts it as it's a biological fact that this person is who they say they are, and obviously the science would say otherwise. But I mean, obviously I would give them the freedom to do that. Um, Not necessarily to go through the surgery because I think that that has some permanent, uh, or even like hormone treatment or something like that. I think that has permanent damage on their health. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, cutting off, you know, your I can't even finish that sentence. Cutting it off is 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 like if a man lost his penis in a car accident, he wouldn't right then and there become a woman, right? We wouldn't call him a
Yeah,
woman that way.
very good point there.
Um, and obviously the body, once that surgery goes through, treats it as a wound, and it starts to, treat it as such, and it starts to close up the wound. So, I mean, I don't want to go too graphic because that's gonna make me sick. But, um, yeah, I mean, obviously the
No, I
body
completely
is,
understand where you're coming from there.
yeah, yeah, and I mean it's a very hot topic because there's people, and obviously I'm against basically people under the age of, I'm gonna say 16 to 18 going through any kind of gender reassignment surgery because like
Oh
we
no, they
yeah
shouldn't be. It's
yeah
too young.
yeah
And I mean, you come 3-4 years time.
yeah
You once decided to change gender. What's to say you're not going to want to decide again?
yeah exactly. And I think I can't remember the study, but hold up, I'm just gonna readjust my microphone so I can look something up. I think there's a study that it showed that a very large portion of transgender children that went through or that were convinced out of not going through the surgery right away kind of grew out of it, um, which kind of goes to show that it kind of I don't know, it kind of goes to show that it I don't know, it's very different than like, yeah, it's a very complicated condition, uh, and obviously I don't know what it's like to have that condition, but you know, yeah, it just goes to show that there is, and obviously there is some societal influence in there too, like it that because now it's kind of a celebrated thing. There has been like in areas that there are, it's kind of pushed more. You see a lot more of them. I think there's a societal uh, aspect of it too, and obviously like here in Canada and in a lot of liberal cities in the U.S., it's a very common thing to be quote unquote non-binary, and it's kind of I don't know. I kind of view it as people trying to get in on being LGBTQAIP silent F, but um,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's sort of
yeah,
like following a trend in a
exactly,
way.
exactly.
Yeah,
Couldn't formulate a
because
sentence
because
there.
it's such a big thing. Because the minority is now becoming
Yeah,
not so much a majority, but
yeah,
in such a larger scene, people want to jump on that bandwagon in a way. With taking, especially with like say celebrities and people like that, they listen to them, they look up to them, so they see what they're saying, and then yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of goes in their head, and then they follow them for the wrong reasons, not for their own reasons and what they believe.
yeah, and yeah, and I mean obviously yeah, I think I don't know if it's actually passed, but there was a law that came into effect in Canada. It might I don't know if it actually came into effect, but there was a
Talking about C16.
no, it was one that proposed the government being like if there was a kid, right? Say a boy, and he came to his parents and said, "Mom, I want to be a girl now," or Mom and Dad, I want to be a girl now. If if the parents said, "No, you're a boy. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna let you wear dresses or something like that," the government was able like, and they told their teachers, the teachers would be able to tell the government, and the government would be able to take the kid away. I think that is a huge mistake. I think that
Yeah,
is,
definitely.
yeah.
Was it in Canada? I'm sure it was in Canada where they actually like a couple had a baby, and then on the birth certificate they didn't actually tick male. They didn't write down male or female. They actually had like gender neutral of some sort because they wanted the child to choose for itself as it grew older.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was here. Yeah, that was yeah. There, it is my opinion, and is the opinion of, you know. Well, I mean, it's not an opinion. It's kind of a. It has been. It has been fact for a long time that men and women are very different. They have very different characteristics, and the idea that gender or biology can be malleable, as Ben Shapiro would say, is just that's just in my opinion incorrect. I mean that you just can't you, you can't say that and then act like it is the truth. I mean it just
In,
can't be.
I'm reading here, and in Quebec you can actually change your gender on the birth certificate.
Yeah, I
Like
think
adults, obviously, like a change in name, you can just go and change your gender on the birth certificate, even if you have got all the biological parts of male.
yeah you can do that on. I would imagine you can uh in the UK as well. You can change it on your driver's license, on your passport. You can change that if you go to the I can't remember what it is. It's in here in BC where I am, it would be ICBC, or no, it wouldn't be. But you can just go to I forget what government office it is, but you can go there and you can change the gender
Yeah, yeah, I see that here now.
driver's
Actually, they've done
license.
that like 10 years before you bring it in. Actually,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never knew that.
And I mean, obviously, I disagree. Like heavily disagree with the taking the kids away from the parents. I mean, yeah, that would just be
Yeah, that's
that's
wrong, isn't it? It's like when you have a boy and they're playing with a buggy, like a girl's buggy, and you're like, oh, don't play with that. That's girl. Do you know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It's crazy. You can't take someone's child away from that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a big issue right now. Obviously, there's it's kind of two sided. Obviously, in like say academia or something, it's taught that gender exists on a spectrum. At one end it's male, at the other end it's female, or at one end it's man, at the other it's woman. Um, that's kind of the mainstream teaching in the school system, at least here, and I'd imagine in a place like Oregon or California, that would probably be what would be taught there. But yeah, yeah, Micah, you wanna jump in here or?
Yeah, sure. Just a sec. Um, transgender people. I'm gonna preface what I say here with the existence of transgender people doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I think it probably could be classified as a disorder. I don't. I'm not a psychologist though, or a I'm not a professional though, so I couldn't. I don't really know what the scientific definition of a disorder is, because
Yeah.
the colloquial versions of these terms are often different from the actual versions, but I think it is definitely a real thing, like the gender dysphoria thing. Like you just like you mentioned earlier, the whole thing with like have that disorder where they feel like they need to lob off a part of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If the brain ever can end up I think it's more than plausible that, like, yeah, you could have a brain that for some reason, whatever reason, feels like it needs to be the opposite gender.
Yeah.
And to that is simply, okay, I'm gonna put on makeup, I'm gonna maybe get some feminization surgeries. I generally don't care as long as they're over 18. I mean, if they're under 18, I don't even care if they like dress up as a woman or anything. Like, it's just surgeries. I think you should have to be over 18 for that.
Yeah. And what like
If it's a surgery that actually affects your genitalia, even then I'm a little bit hesitant about that.
yeah, or like
Um,
obviously even in the US it's perfectly fine to obviously it costs a fair bit of money, but you can get if it's I can't remember what the age limit is, but under a certain age you can get puberty blockers, and you can take hormones, and obviously those
What's
have
that?
long.
To stop the male puberty before it happens, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and then they get the hormones going to try to
Or
change.
vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and then yeah, I mean it's
and that's a little bit disturbing to me, but I mean, ultimately, themselves though, I don't really have an issue with. Uh, Not the whole thing with uh, okay, I've lost track.
that's all right.
But yeah, that's basically how I feel about it. Like, that's just sort of how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, the definition of a disorder is the first result that came up. A mental disorder, also called a mental excuse me, that was a terrible reading. A mental disorder, also called a mental illness or psychiatric disorder, is a behavioral or mental pattern that causes significant distress or impairment of the personal functioning. Mental disorders
So
are usually defined by a combination of how a person behaves, feels, perceives, or thinks.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think by that definition, it could definitely be interpreted that dysphoria could be considered a disorder, but
yeah.
really
And the thing,
losing sleep over I'm not really losing sleep over the fact that it's not considered that, I guess.
yeah, and the thing about these surgeries also is that they can't be reversed. These things that they like that any kind of procedure or operation, those are permanent. If the person regrets it later, that doesn't matter. It's too late. Um, which is kind of when you're talking about kids, it's yeah. I mean like if they eventually, I think it's 60%. No, it's 80%.
Did you
Like
say what the disorder could possibly be with it? Did you say the name of it?
of what do you mean?
Because there's actually a name here called gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the official
That's what you were
term.
saying. Yeah, I thought it was you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the I think that was the DSM-4 definition, which the DSMs are well, what's the I can't remember what DSM
Is
stands for.
essentially dysphoria is essentially the opposite of euphoria.
Mm.
Idea is what the name means is like you don't feel comfortable with your sex or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like uncomfortable with the roles of what their assigned gender is, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then before that it was gender identity disorder. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dysphoria, the definition is a state of unease or generalized dissatisfaction with life. So, that definitely characterizes it. But yeah. How long have we been streaming for? 1 hour and 4 minutes. Just to put that out there. Yeah, this is
Okay.
it's been a nice long stream. Do you guys think we should keep going for a little longer, or do you think we should kind of just have a little quick general discussion and then log off for now?
Whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, I'm down for
I'm
the
actually
flow,
I'm
or
actually
whatever.
probably gonna have to start messaging some other guy about some stuff that I need to talk about. So I think that we've done enough for tonight.
All right. I guess we'll just kind of tie off what we basically talked about the whole time. Just changing the title of the yeah, we'll just kind of have a general discussion. Oh my goodness, I keep messing up my words. I don't know what's going on. Just kind of a last discussion, and then we'll kind of cut it there. Obviously, Connor will probably be back. Probably.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be
And yeah, he's this isn't the last time you'll see him, or well, not see him, hear him.
Yeah.
You never know. I might show my head one day.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll just kind of have a little top discussion. So, to recap.
I think you.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
go ahead.
you'll come under this. Sorry, I think you'll come under the actual same topic in a way, as of like equality.
Yeah.
In some sort of way, I think they all come down to equality. Everything we discussed today.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, and obviously, we probably all have very similar views until it relates to probably just government. But I mean, obviously, I grew up, and I am still growing up, obviously, in Canada. So the role of government is obviously very similar. We have the head of state of Canada is the Queen. I mean, we don't have the same healthcare system, but it's still a socialized system with that is controlled by each of the provinces. Provinces are basically like states. But I mean, yeah, immigration, obviously, I would argue it's a bigger topic in the UK. But I mean, obviously here it's the subject of the government shutdown, so it's a very big issue here too. I mean, yeah, I think this has been a great discussion. I think a lot of ideas have been shared. Obviously, we're not all 100% on everything, but I definitely think, in a general sense, we all agree on,
Roughly the same views.
yeah, roughly the same views. Obviously, freedom of speech, I would a little bit differ. I think that it should be, yeah, well, I kind of think that the U.S. System for freedom of speech is the greatest one, but I mean that's just my opinion. And obviously, Connor, you haven't, you I would assume have grown up in the UK, so I mean it's a very different experience than it would be.
Yeah, our freedom of speech is not very good. We
Yeah.
don't really. They like to say we do, but yeah.
Yeah.
We all believe
Yeah.
we don't in some sort of way.
System has a presumption of guilt as opposed to the presumption of innocence in the U.S., right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Totally.
yeah, and then obviously you I think you would definitely be on the right in the U.S. in terms of criminal sort of justice and the justice system, and obviously you think that the UK is definitely not on the right track, and obviously people like Tommy Robinson would agree with you. But yeah, I think this has been a very good episode 2. Connor, you are our first guest officially.
Proud to be. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just gonna end it here. Thank you all for, listening, maybe watching on Twitch. How many viewers do I have? 0. Well, that's sad. I mean, I didn't expect it. We have like I think the one follower on Twitch is me. I think our main source of viewers is going to be when we post it on YouTube. But yeah, I think we're
we
just
have,
gonna.
like,
Oh, go ahead.
views on
Sorry, you cut out there. What was
the
that?
first episode.
How many views?
Views on
yeah, I
the
mean-
first episode.
Connor, you just heard that, right?
20.
Okay, 20. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on my end, but you
So
kept
we'll
cutting
probably
out.
have to up our game in terms of marketing, or like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been episode 2. I think we're gonna end it there. Goodbye, everyone.
right.